Hello, Marvin.
Yes,
How's my friend doing tonight?
I am doing very well.
You say that every time I talk to you, and you know what? Your voice tells on you because it sounds like you're doing very well, and I'm so pleased to hear that, Marvin. And I want to first of all say thank you for taking time out of your schedule to talk with us. I've got Len Root on the line from British Columbia, his wife Jeanette, and a dear friend of theirs, Anna Marie. And, of course, I'm on this end, and my friend, David Howell. So we got a lot of ears listening to you tonight. So, you went through a debilitating health issue, one that put you out of commission, and I would like to have you comment on your profession at the end of your testimony, and just share with the people where you were at, what happened to you, how you come about getting acquainted with our product, how many you took, how long it took, and where you're at today, and whatever comments you want to share with us in between there is just super.
Sure. Well, how are you doing all this morning?
We're doing
My
good.
name is Marvin Zeilenski. Basically, I just turned 63, so I'm not quite as old as I sound. I took a medical retirement, not because I had MS, but because I developed a critical arrhythmia, a ventricular type arrhythmia, which is usually lethal. Fortunately for me, I was at work, and they called the code blue, and they shot me back into sinus rhythm, and got my heart back into a normal pace, and so I was basically brought back to life. And as a result, I had one of the very first implants done in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I was sort of forced into a medical retirement because of that, because I worked around very delicate instruments and around treating cancers and problems with the back of the eye as well as in the eye. So I wasn't allowed to do that anymore, because if things fired, basically shocked my heart, it caused my bodies to jerk. And if you're working around somebody's visual body, you don't want to jerk where you can then turn around and blind somebody, right? So as a result, I was forced into this medical retirement. Now, I had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1982. Now, my first symptoms were in the 70s, but back then they didn't have magnetic resonance imaging, and so they couldn't make a diagnosis until they'd done spinal taps and colonal banding and all kinds of other process of elimination, because at that time MS was sort of a catch-all trash basket of neurological disorders. And so as a result, I kind of wandered around thinking about, well, I'm just going to have to deal with this on a per-day basis. And so as it was, my health began to decline, and I was in a wheelchair for about 20 years. And with circumstances, being as it were, being in the medical retirement, we got ourselves a motorhome, and we ended up down in the Arizona desert. And they have a permanent flea market in Yuma, Arizona.
Yeah.
And as a result of going through that flea market, I saw a little sign that talked about Stemtech. And so, since it had been spelled Stemtech, I said, I wonder what this is about. And so I said to my wife, because she was looking for socks and stuff like that, and I said, I want to stop and read about this. And so the more I read, the more I got interested, and I told my wife, I said, I think I want to try this. And so as a result, I bought some of the Stemtech, 3 weeks, my health actually began getting just a little bit better. I had a little bit more energy. And so I said, I think this is a good thing. And I told my wife, I said, I think we should definitely sign up for this and give it a shot. I said, because it's definitely making me feel more energetic. And I just felt like it was helping me. And so she said, well, if it makes you feel better, let's do it. Because when you're stuck in a wheelchair, if you're starting to feel better, that means you're going to want to do things. And so with one thing and another, I started taking the Stemtech and quickly built up the level of medication. Well, it's actually not a medication, but the level of supplement to where I was taking it 4 times a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner time, and bedtime. And so then I actually began to think about what it is that I was doing. And I said, that this stuff is actually going in and repairing damaged tissue. Because, with the literature that we got sent with the product, I learned more about it, and I began to take a stronger interest in it, as it were. And so basically, I built up to a level that was what I call therapeutic. And at that level, I began to notice definite improvements, not just in my ability to think and manipulate my hands and limbs, but also in the way things were getting accomplished. So I said, I think this stuff is really, really working. And that particular year, I had signed up for a rock carving class in gemology. And so because I had signed up for the class, my wife would drop me off with me and the chair, and then from there, she would come back and pick me up because we have a specially adapted vehicle to handle the wheelchair. And so I just started feeling like I was getting so much better that I think I'm going to walk over to the restroom. And one of the friends that we were there with called my wife and said, we're getting a little worried about Marvin as he's walking across the parking lot. And she said, what do you mean he's walking across the parking lot? Where is he going to? Well, we don't know. But we're worried about him just crossing this open area without any means of support. So she called me and she starts yelling at me, and I said, wait a minute. I'm actually feeling a little stronger. I'm actually feeling a little better. So I feel like walking. And so I did. I started walking slowly, and basically my strength started coming back. And now I've been on the product for almost 3 years. And come next January, it will be 3 years exactly. So it's not too far off. And I can tell you that I have gone from being totally wheelchair bound, to now I actually walk everywhere. I ride a bicycle. My balance has gotten better. Our sex life has gotten better. My ability to just basically do day-to-day things has gotten back to what I consider to be normal. I'm like a normal person. And as a consequence, I do have a honey-do list now, which I look forward to doing because I can do it. And it's one of those things that you don't realize what you're missing out on in life until, of course, you can't do it. And so I feel like Stemtech has brought me back to a normal, healthy lifestyle.
Wow.
And it's kind of one of those things that it's hard to describe, other than the fact that you just simply feel better, but you know that you're getting stronger. And I had begun losing muscle mass in my left leg, primarily in the thigh area, because it's one of the biggest muscles on your limbs. And so I knew, with my medical background and training, that was a slippery slope to where you end up being bedridden. And so I was quite concerned about that, and so was my wife. And so it was kind of one of those situations where it's not that I was determined to try and do something about it. I just got lucky. It was in the right place at the right time and found out about Stemtech. And by golly, it does go in and repair damaged tissue. In my case, it repairs the nerve fibers to allow the message to get to where their muscles need them to be. And so my balance got better, my strength got better, the muscle mass in my left leg is almost, not quite, but it's almost the same as my right leg. And I literally have walked all day long, every day, for the past 2 years. It took me at least 6 months before I began to get around unaided and unassisted. But last year we went to Yosemite with some friends of ours, and I did the 6-mile hike around Old Faithful. I didn't have to worry about, well, am I going to make it? I mean, I was tired, but in the end, we stopped and had lunch, and by the time lunch was over, I was ready to go again.
Wow.
And it's hard to tell you how absolutely invigorating that is, because, I mean, I didn't start out going like, well, I'm going to make this 6-mile trip. No, I just started walking, and the next thing you know, I'd gone 6 miles. And normally, if I'd gone just 600 feet, I would have been down and out and in bed for the next 3 days. And here I am. The next day, we're up and we're going to, Custer National Park in South Dakota. And again, we are out walking around, we're out doing things, and I was not exhausted. I was not in any way incapacitated by the fact that I was exerting myself. It's important to sort of tell you a little bit about my particular background. I'm a registered diagnostic ultrasonographer in ophthalmology oncology. Basically, all those big words means that I am a diagnostician, and I treated eyeballs for cancers as well as other abnormalities in and around the eye. So you've got the orbit as well as the eyeball itself. And so as a profession, doctors would come to me to get a diagnosis, because I could tell you this part was healthy and this part was not. And not only is it not healthy, but this is exactly what's wrong with it. So I made a lot of good money doing that. And so taking that early medical retirement was a very bitter pill to swallow.
So could you help me out from a layman in British Columbia? What was your profession?
I'm a registered diagnostic ultrasonographer in ophthalmology oncology, which is cancer.
Thank you. I got all the spelling of that perfect.
Cool.
Mark, I have a question for you. You
Sure.
said you got up to what you called a therapeutic dose. How many stem flow and stem enhance were you taking a day?
I started out taking just 1 capsule per day, and I worked it up to where I'm taking 8 capsules per day. That's 2 in the morning, 2 at lunchtime, 2 at dinner time, and 2 at bedtime.
That's the enhance?
And that's the enhance. That's the enhance.
Yes.
The flow, I take 3 in the morning and 3 at night. And so I take 6 of those per day.
Right. Okay.
Okay? I consider that a therapeutic level.
Right.
Now, I know of people who take it more frequently than that.
Yes, I've heard of that.
And I've told them that, you know, you cannot overdose on this, okay, because there is no drug interaction with it, so you don't have to worry about taking too much. It's water soluble. It's an algae. It grows in the water. So it's something that your system will expel when you have too much on board.
Right. Just like cod liver oil.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Except cod liver oil, because it's an oil, you can't actually take too much. Your body can only process so much, and then it goes toxic.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, this is impressive.
Very impressive. We're absolutely sitting here stunned.
Let me ask you a question, Marvin. If you were talking to someone that isn't the most knowledgeable about adult stem cells and their functions, and they respond to you in a very skeptical fashion, how do you answer them with the background you have, the testimonial experience that your body has gone through, and the confidence that you have in the product itself now that you've got this many years and months under the belt? How would you answer the skeptic?
Well, if the skeptic were truly skeptical about the fact that this is supposed to be a cure-all, I tell them right off, this is not a cure-all, okay? Because it doesn't cure anything. What it does is it goes in and it repairs damaged tissue, okay? So it doesn't fix bones. It doesn't fix arthritis. Okay? There's a lot of things that it can do, but it cannot fix things that are already dead. So if you already have, you know, a finalized onset of that macular degeneration, and you are now blind from that, you're not going to get your vision back. However, if you are an early onset with macular degeneration, the wet form of macular degeneration, then the tissue is not dead. So you actually have a chance of bringing back those same cells that are still there, still alive, barely, but still alive. You can actually go back and reverse that and bring back your vision. And there is, in fact, somebody who, to make it really simple, she is the friend of my uncle's sister-in-law's mother.
Okay, that's
so
got that.
Not even related, but she had wet macular degeneration. And because I'd worked in ophthalmology, I knew exactly where she was at.
Sure.
And I told her, I said, this is the time to start. I said, if you've got any chance at all, now is the time. The state had taken her driver's license because her vision had gotten that bad. And so that was a very, very, very bitter pill for her to swallow. And when I told her about this, and I said, this is the time to do it. And she said, well, at this point, I'm willing to try anything because I've got nothing to lose. And I said, yes, everything to gain. And so she did try it, and her vision, and I'm not telling you this just to be mouthing off here. The state gave her back her license in 6 months because her vision had improved that much.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So with regards to things like vision, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, please don't think I am. My father died eventually from sugar diabetes. In the family, I have sugar diabetes. And, you know, I'm now, well, I'm 56, but, you know, I am experiencing some vision loss to the point where I need glasses. And, you know, there's cardiovascular issues that come along with that. Is this a product that potentially could assist or benefit in those?
Well,
you know.
When it comes to diabetes, you've got a multitude of things going on. Okay? Your pancreas is not producing any insulin at all. Okay? And so your body, in order to to compensate for that, begins to degrade its ability to process all of the sugar in your body. And because it can't process, in other words, take and use up the sugar that's in the blood, then the body it must excrete insulin. And if it can't, then you go into a situation where your body is working everything it can to compensate for that. And of course, you end up with an overgrowth of blood vessels. And those blood vessels then become very brittle because they grow so fast, and they become so brittle that they break and bleed. And that's what causes the blindness to occur in your eye.
Therefore, floaters and things like that?
Floaters.
Around in your eye?
Yeah, floaters are protein matter in the vitreous. And that's protein that's given off by the retina. That protein becomes coagulated in the vitreous. And the vitreous is the jelly part of your eye. And that can be repaired by what they call a vitrectomy, which is a surgical term to remove the vitreous and replace it with saline. Now, the problem with doing that is, of course, that you lose the support of the vitreous, which is the jelly, and it keeps the retina flat against the back of the eye and allows the blood vessels that are absolutely critical to keep those rods and cones. The cones are the peripheral vision. The rods are the acuity that you see clearly with. Those are all fed by blood vessels just underneath them. You're only talking 3-cell layer thicknesses here. So they're very, very, very thin. And the reason that they do what they call pan-retinal photocoagulation, which is a laser treatment to the back of the eye, is to scar the retina to the sclera, which is the white part of the eye. And they scar that tissue down to keep the retina from becoming detached. Because when it becomes detached, then the blood supply that keeps those cells alive can't reach it because there's matter between the retina and the blood vessels.
Oh.
And that's why the retina begins to die. And of course, once it's dead, it's the same thing as macular degeneration. Once it's dead, there is no bringing it back. Okay? So it's extremely important, to see a doctor and do all the things he tells you to do with regards to maintaining the correct blood levels of your sugar and insulin levels, so that you don't have that development of because it's a disease of the small blood vessels. That's what diabetes is. Because as your body tries to compensate, it grows new blood vessels.
With regards to the stem flow, the things that I hear is that potentially it can benefit the creation of new capillaries in the body.
Well, what the flow does, for diabetes, is that it allows the pancreas, to go in and remove all of the proteins that are in your blood and all of the sugar byproducts that are in your blood, and then send it to the kidneys, which are then excreted through the urine. Now, when it's doing that, there is a physical process that the blood goes through to release this information back into the body. And so the stem enhance allows those damaged cells in the pancreas to basically reproduce and get stronger so that it can actually deal with the lack of levels of insulin and start producing more of its own insulin.
Right.
And therefore, it can actually compensate for the fluctuations of blood sugar levels during the day.
That makes good sense. Yeah, Marvin, Any closing thoughts you want to share with these folks?
The only thing that I can say is that Stemtech makes it as easy as possible on you to take advantage of the fact that there's a product out here that can actually not just increase the ability of your life to get better, but the quality of your life to get better. I hope that helps somebody realize how passionate I am about this. I mean, the quality of life is something that up until a few years ago was never a consideration as to whether or not this is a good thing or a bad thing. If it just made your life longer, that was a good enough reason to take it. Mm-hmm. This stuff actually gives you a quality of life that's as normal as humanly possible.
Well, you know what? What a wealth of information you are, and what a wonderful human being for taking the time out, and thank your wife. And I can't tell you the insight you've given us and the excitement that you've generated in this little house that we have here.
Well, my whole purpose of doing this is not to sell the product, but to tell people that this is better than a cure. I mean, it's just remarkable because your body has the ability now to go in and basically repair itself to a more youthful, beneficial way of doing things.
Now, Marvin, I want to personally thank you for always being there when I call you. I call you many times at the most inopportune time, but you're always there. And I want to thank you for that. You have a compassionate heart to share with people about what this has done for you. And I might just say this, you used some key words there at the end about this is more than a cure. It gives you a quality of life. And my daughter, who's an RN nurse with advanced degrees above that, at our last conference that we just had last weekend, she was on the podium and given a little bit of an address to our group. And she said, folks, you got to realize, and she held up the Stem Enhance and the Stem Flow bottles, and she said, these bottles offer hope. They offer hope. She said, do you catch the word? It is so important. People today, when they get sick, very seldom there's any hope. Because like you said, there's no quality of life. And you really brought out some wonderful, wonderful terms, Marvin. I thank you for that, my friend. If there's anything else you want to say, we will let you get back to getting a good night's sleep here. It's about that time, I think.
Well, actually, I plan on staying up at least another hour, so I'm doing great.
Wonderful. Well, you're full of stamina, and we thank you for your testimony, and I look forward to having a chance to talk with you again sometime in the future. Are you planning on going back to Yuma or somewhere in Arizona this winter?
I am definitely going back to Quartzsite and Yuma. Quartzsite and Yuma. Probably I'll get there in November. I won't leave until probably March or April.
All right. And thank you, Marvin, for being on this call tonight. We appreciate you, love you, and God bless you and your family.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You've inspired us, and you're a heart son, and boy, that goes a long way in our family. For myself personally, I want to thank you very much for the time you've spent here. That's a very stand-up thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Take care. God bless.
Take care.
Okay. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
I've always said I wished I could have all of the MS and all of the Parkinson's people in the world.
Yeah.
It would be such a joy to show those people how they can get a quality of life back once again.